Well, thank you, Nancy. Hi, everyone. How are you guys doing? Sorry, I got this on a cab on the way here, so I was taking notes while Senator Harkin was speaking. Filling in for Kelly Buckland, can't fill in for him, but anyway, I'm here. So happy ADA 25. Woo! We had a great time at the White House yesterday. So if you want to find out what Senator Harkin was talking about, go to adalegacy.org and you'll get all the info. I'm here to talk about what we do in the ADA for NCLE, National Council of Independent Living, which I am a member of and co-chair the ADA Civil Rights Subcommittee and a member of the Violence Abuse Task Force. I feel I could talk about it. I'm going to talk with my NCLE hat on. Although NDRN does great work, we're the protection and advocacies across the country. And so we work on civil rights laws for people with disabilities, and we do a lot of work in CJ, JJ. In fact, I just left the National Juvenile Justice Network where I was on a panel this morning to discuss just this subject of how to use the ADA in criminal justice, especially for children with their rights, and IDEA as well. Individuals with Disability Education Act. All you young people back there, stay awake, I'm watching you. Okay. So NCLE is a cross-disability organization, so some people on the panel are going to talk about deaf and ID and DD, as well as NDRN. We deal with all disabilities, and in the criminal justice system, I hate to say it, but this is the one area in this town where we're talking about criminal justice where I have to say, can you tone down the mental health? I don't usually have to say that in any other area because they forget people who are deaf, people with epilepsy, people with diabetes. They walk around, they may look drunk. They're not. That is their disability. Don't say I want to leave them out, but please include them. And also with the work that we do, we also constantly look at this work as a suspect, right? They're constantly trying to say, don't kill people. That is important, but people are also touching the criminal justice system as victims, as witnesses to crimes, and just walking down the street as a regular citizen, I need to talk to you. And unfortunately, law enforcement, all around, not just law enforcement, but I would say criminal justice system, the courts, public defenders, do not know about the ADA and what the ADA can do and the titles that are there to assist people with disabilities. I'm an MPA, Master's in Public Administration. I found it really odd when I came to DC how many lawyers, love you lawyers dearly, don't know the ADA. And it is a crying shame because you use the ADA, one of the titles, Title II, is for public entities, and people forget this part of it, effective communications. Exactly what the young lady's doing here, sign language. I wish our mayor would get a sign language interpreter with her all day long, but anyway. When people are arrested and they're deaf, they don't get the sign language interpreter. That's against their Title II. That's how the ADA is there. For 25 years we had it. It's not being used properly. There are some cities that do it, but not a lot. If you have an ID or a DD, or you can talk to someone and tell that they may not be able to take care of themselves or talk to you at a high level, they are supposed to get a social worker who comes in and assists them when they've been arrested. And these things don't happen. People really forget about the ADA. There are specific provisions in the ADA that protect victims as well. Any services you provide to them, the same thing. They need to be accessible, and accessible doesn't mean that the door is wide enough and there's a ramp. Accessible is very wide and ranged. What things that they need if they're at the hospital or talking to people. They may need their AT-assistive technology machines. They may need their personal assistant to help them because they trust that person and they will talk with the person in the room, or they may not. So people don't use the ADA like they should. And it is a wonderful law that helps from children to geriatrics. And I do a lot of disability sensitivity training, and I love this. People with disabilities are people with disabilities. They are mothers and fathers, people of color. We always forget the diversity here. And those numbers that Nancy read so great from BOJ, double it for people who are of diverse backgrounds, Black, Latino, Asian, probably triple it for Native Americans. Okay, because those numbers are higher, and I would also say they're probably very low because they're not reported. We have so many people with disabilities who just don't go and report that they've been a victim because they're so disrespected and they don't care. Nothing's going to happen for them. So we have to think about that when we talk about this. Also, in the area of using the ADA, public defenders, I find this very odd, don't know that also the reasonable accommodations are in the ADA. So that if you're in a wheelchair, we have a lot of cases, and the protection advocacy, we get these calls, so do the Centers for Independent Living. Like Kelly, if he was here, he's in an electric chair. He's a person with a C-spine injury. He cannot sit in a regular wheelchair and roll, but they will take those electric wheelchairs away because they don't want to charge them. They cost too much money to charge. Yeah. So someone, right, that's a reasonable combination. He's supposed to have his electric chair. He's supposed to have these things. That's under the ADA. That's why the ADA is important. Here we go yet again, Title II, reasonable combinations for public entities. And so these are the kinds of issues and concerns that we still have. Although it has been great, of course, to have the ADA. Not only, again, not as just a suspect or someone who's in the prison, but a victim. Domestic violence shelters, we talked about the VAWA. In there, we try to make the shelters accessible. They have to be accessible not only for the person who's being abused, men and women, especially in disabilities. A lot of men with disabilities are abused sexually. More so at a higher rate than in the regular community who don't have disabilities, but also their children. Many women who don't have a disability, but their child has a disability, will not leave that situation because they can't go to the next county, right? Their child has to start over their services and all of those things. And so the ADA helps them out as well and says, okay, well, we will find a place for you and your child to go and get away from your victim, or from your abuser or anything like that. Also, the ADA works from before you're in the system, when you're in the system, and in reentry. A lot of people don't want to talk about reentry. And really, those Bureau of Justice statistics, about 18 months is when you're coming out of prison is when you get these assessments, because they try to start thinking about what to do with you when you come out. Like, do you need services? Not everywhere, not like, I'm from New Jersey. So in New Jersey, we do this. But, they kind of talk to the person because they know they're going to go on parole, right, the halfway house, wherever you're going. And do you need services? And that's kind of where they find out this person, oh, he has ID, intellectual disability, or oh, he or she has a DD. And so they need those services when they come out into the community. So under the ADA, they can receive those services. Again, this is state by state. Some states won't allow them to have those services if they're under Medicaid, right, federal funding. Through the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, there's a provision in there that says those services for people with disabilities, for those states who take the Medicaid expansion, doesn't matter if you come out of prison or not. Not every state took the Medicaid expansion. So in those states, that's where we have issues and problems. But in other states, like, again, I'll say New Jersey, we don't have that problem because we passed our own state laws that we will help people who are formerly incarcerated with a disability. We will give them Medicaid through our state funding. And now they took the Medicaid expansion. So those are issues and concerns where people can use the ADA. They don't think about, and they should, because that would help them. And I will tell you, Centers for Independent Living are usually run by people with disabilities. 51% of the staff has to be a person with disability, and the board, they're not going to turn away a person with disability. So they'll figure it out, how to help this person. So that's another area where the ADA is of really great use. The other part I was going to talk about is that everything that's going on out here in reference to the social justice movement, people with disabilities are involved. Again, back to them being all types of people. Yes, they are involved in Black Lives Matter. They are involved in women, issues, and that women in the police. Last week, I did a panel on women incarceration and the fact that their children have no connection to them. There's actually a piece of legislation on the Hill now to open daycare centers in prison, and we're like, yeah, no, that's not good. That's not a place for children. But anyway, they are part of the Black Lives Matter movement. You will see them on social media. I'm coming to my 1 minute. So Nickel is on social media, at Nickel Advocacy, all one word, or at Nickel Director is Kelly's. And next week is Nickel's annual conference. It's always that week of the ADA. There is a panel on Monday, which is on Black Lives Matter, and the Center for Independent Living in Missouri, Paraquat was one of the largest in the country, is doing this work, has been doing this work. Miss Jupiter is the ADA person out there doing this. Heather, she's been out there doing this since the beginning, got dumped out of her wheelchair by the police. They have done this to many people around the country. So just so you know, we are involved in that in many different ways, and it is important to us. And we are part of the President Obama's 21st Century Policing. Although we only got 4 lines in the report, please contact me, Dara Baldwin at ndrn.org if you would like a copy of our 16 pages that we sent to the 21st Century Policing that covers this about ADA and criminal justice and juvenile justice. And thank you for this opportunity to speak.